In this week's video, I'll demonstrate how to measure your head or someone else's for a knitted hat. As always, if you'd like to jump right to a specific point in the video, there are direct links down in the description. Garments are designed around one key measurement, and that measurement determines the garment size. Secondary measurements determine the rest of the garment's dimensions and are based on a combination of the garment style and the proportions of the average person who has that key measurement. For hats, the key measurement is the head circumference, and the secondary measurement is the head length. It's those secondary measurements where you can make alterations to a pattern to ensure a good fit. So when I measure a head, I measure the circumference of the head just above the ears. I do not include any of the ear inside the measuring tape. The next thing I do is measure from the base of the earlobe to the base of the earlobe. And that determines the length. I divide that number by 2. In this case, I have about 16.5, so I would divide that by 2, and that would determine the length of the hat. I make notes about the head measurements in a corner of the sheet of paper that I use to measure the person's hand and foot measurements. Right here, I've measured my brother's head, and I've noted that his circumference is 24 inches around, and that from earlobe to earlobe, the measurement is 18 inches. Another way to determine the appropriate length of a hat is to measure an existing hat. Have you, the recipient, try the hat on and tell you whether it is the correct length for them. This way you can see how they actually wear the hat so that you can ensure that you're knitting it to the appropriate length. If the hat that they have is too long for them, you can make your hat shorter. If their hat is too short, you can make yours longer. While key measurements are used in order to design the hat, a hat is typically designed with negative ease, which means that it will be smaller in circumference when finished than the head that it's intended to fit. That is so that the hat will stretch to fit your head. If the hat is the same size or larger than your head, then it's just going to slide right down over your eyes. Your hat pattern should tell you the finished size of the hat as well as the size of the head that the hat is intended to fit. Different stitch patterns will have different amounts of negative ease depending on their unique qualities. Ribbing will contract a lot more when it's relaxed than other fabrics, while stranded color work and heavily cabled fabrics won't be able to stretch as much as other fabrics. Well, that's it for the basics on hat measurements. If you have any comments or questions about today's video or suggestions about videos you'd like to see in the future, you can leave those down in the comments below, or you can join me over in my Ravelry group, Roxanne. There's a link to that down in the description box below. Next week, I'm going to be talking about how to measure hands for mittens and gloves. I hope you'll join me for that. In the meantime, if you'd like to see my previous videos that are related to measurements, you can click on the playlist up here. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, I'd really appreciate it if you did. You can hover or tap on my face here and then click on subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.